Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train, or welcome back if we've shared this space before. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey of self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. This podcast is a safe, judgment-free space dedicated to the realities of living with and healing from trauma. Through personal stories and in-depth conversations with special guests, including therapists, healers, practitioners, and fellow survivors, we look at what healing can truly look like in everyday life. We explore realistic healing journeys and share simple, sustainable practices and actionable tools to support your well-being along the way. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember you are not on this journey alone. Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train with me, your host, Lydia. Not only am I your host, I'm your fellow passenger in this journey towards self-healing, inner strength, and discovery. Today, I have the amazing Lilli Badcock on this podcast as my first guest. Now, Lilli is very special to me. I met her randomly a couple of years ago, and we've got on ever since. One of the most important things about Lilli and why she's on this podcast today is because Lilli can heal through her voice. She does sound Reiki, she does sound healing, and I've brought on here today to see how we can put that towards trauma and what sound healing and sound Reiki does to our bodies. So, welcome to Riding the Trauma Train. First of all, should we have a little bit of history about how we actually met?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's a great story. Tell it. Do you want me to tell it or are you going to tell it?
You can tell it because it was even more random from your side.
Yeah, so I run a weekly pop-up choir in a local cafe. Shout out to the Boston Tea Party. And we sing in their little side room, but obviously we can be heard throughout the place. And one day, was it 2 years ago? Is that how long ago it was?
The middle of September, I think.
Terrifying. So 2 years ago, we had just wrapped up a session and suddenly this crazy red-haired maniac came running in going, "Oh my God, who are you and how do I join?" And it was Lydia. And we were like, oh my God, I've got a thing of like, I'm fully inclusive in all my groups. Everyone is always welcome, but I recognize like-minded souls. I know my people when I see them, and Lydia is my people. So yes, that's the start of our love story. And it's been a beautiful thing ever since.
Oh, it absolutely has. Ironically, I'd only gone to the Boston Tea Party to get some breakfast because I'd gone for pre-holiday waxing. So actually, it was a post-waxing, thank goodness. And they were singing like angels, and all I could hear. And they're in the middle floor of Boston Tea Party. I'm on the top floor, and I could just hear this amazing. And I was like, who are you? And how do I get in on this? And it was amazing. And then obviously got talking to you, and you said about that you did sound Reiki and sound healing and you helped to heal people through your voice. And that was amazing to me. Didn't quite figure out how it worked because I've heard of sound baths before and I've heard of like the Tibetan bowls and everything. But when you said to me that you did sound Reiki through your voice and sound baths through your voice, I was just like blown away. So, first of all, how did you come how did you come to find out about sound healing and how did you get into sound Reiki?
So thank you, by the way, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my God, I'm going to try and answer these questions succinctly so that we're not here for 6.5 hours.
I don't mind.
So how I got into it, well, the short answer is I had a podcast of my own and one of my guests offered me a place on their Sound Reiki training, which is not unusual. I mean, my podcast story as a whole, probably conversation on its own.
Well, we can do that another time. That's fine. We'll get you on to do that podcast.
I mean, the short version is it was very much a calling and it was a following of a nudge. And I know that's going to mean something to you. So you need to hear that part because at the time I launched that podcast, I was frustrated because I'd gone through an episode of anxiety and I wasn't out the other side. I was right in the thick of it actually, but I wanted to feel like I'd gone through it for a reason. I wanted to find purpose in that journey. And so I launched this podcast and started to have these conversations. It became quite common for people that were coming on to offer me something. It's like an energy exchange. And so
Yeah.
Catherine Varga came on, and Catherine Varga is a Reiki master who, with her associate Heather Hannon, had created this incredible modality called Sound Reiki. So it takes the principles of sound healing, which, as you've mentioned, is usually with bowls, gongs,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And they'd applied the principles of traditional Reiki. So again, a lot of people have heard of Reiki now. It's this universal healing energy, traditionally done through healing hands. So through symbols that people make. The funny thing is, I've not been trained in traditional Reiki, and yet when I channel the sound, I make these shapes with my hands. And somebody recently was like, "Those are the symbols." So that blows my mind because I've never been taught that. Um, so anyway, I'd been offered a lot of things and was like, oh, I don't know. A lot of the time, I just don't follow it up. But something about Sound Reiki was like healing through my voice. Like it couldn't be more perfect. I've always felt like there was something in singing that I couldn't put my finger on. I definitely found healing in it through the anxiety journey I had, and it birthed everything I had done up to that point. I was already trying to see, how does this singing go with the physical and the mental element of anxiety and stress and these things. So these women on my podcast just saying, you can channel the sound that way, was mind blowing to me. And so I did level 1 because that's what they offered me. And at the start of level 1, she says something like, at the end of this, you're going to get an attunement. So it's called an attunement. And she was like, once you've done the attunement, your gifts are going to like skyrocket. And I'm half and half. Half of me absolutely loves all this stuff. And the other half of me is like, I don't know about that. I'm
Mm.
skeptical.
Yeah, I get that.
And so I did it because I was so interested in the healing side, and I did the attunement. And that's when I sat in a shala. So it was a yoga shala in Dorset. I was there for the day to record content, and I was seeing what I could sing over. And I suddenly found my voice was doing crazy stuff that I know. I'm a professional singer, and I'm a professional singer who lost her voice. So I know my voice inside out. I know what it can do. I know its limitations. And yet I was sat in that yoga shala smashing every limitation I'd ever felt I had. And I even FaceTimed my friend, and I was like, listen to this. She was like, how the hell are you doing that? I was like, I don't know. Crazy,
Wow.
crazy high notes. So that's how I found it. It's been a journey ever since. I mean, as soon as I did level 1, I was like, give me level 2. Like, I want more of this. And then I
Yeah,
went to
absolutely.
master level. And so, as with everything I've done, I do feel very much that I'm birthing something that hasn't been done precisely this way before. I struggle
Mhm.
to say that because it sounds arrogant. And I'm not saying I can reinvent the wheel at all, but I've always felt like I never found a modality that I wanted to go all in on. It was more like, let me take bits of this
Yeah.
modality and then put it with my own experience, which I actually think is how it's supposed to be for all of us anyway.
I 100% agree, because I think if you kind of are somebody that wants to heal and you go down a route where you think, okay, well, that's what I need to do, that's the training I need to do, but you kind of you hit a rock, I suppose. It's like if you're on a boat and you hit a rock and you think, but I'm meant to be going this way. But no, actually, you found the fact that you want to heal. You want to heal through Reiki. You want to heal through sound Reiki. And yet, so you've kind of gone around the boulder and you've gone on your own path. And I love that. And I can honestly vouch for your voice. Like, I've had 2 sound baths with you now. That sounds dodgy. Um, I've experienced 2 sound bath workshops.
These are
And
fully clothed sessions, by the way, and no water is involved, just
yeah,
to
I know, that's so funny. And actually, they've been in 2 different places. I've had one in the church and then one in a converted barn, which have both been beautiful. And I've also had a personal session of Sound Reiki. And each experience for me came at a time where I was highly triggered through my complex PTSD and didn't really know where to turn. I felt lost and I felt vulnerable. And I know that when I had that first sound bath, I didn't know what to expect. And like I said, the Tibetan bowl thing is something that you literally go to straight away. But when you sing, my gosh, it's like I sing with you. I'm not professional in any way or shape or imagination, but we sing together regularly. And I know when your voice itself stops. I know when your high notes crack and when you do
Yeah.
your low notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know the difference between your singing voice and your sound Reiki voice, and it is extraordinary. And gosh, I've had so many different experiences like judders. I've had, my gosh, I burst into tears one day, and I know it was very much needed, and I was holding on to that cry or that anger. So for everyone listening and people that need to go through healing when they've got some kind of trauma, how does this might be putting you on the spot a bit. How does the sound and the healing equate to, or how does the sound equate to a healing kind of practice, or how does it transfer from your voice or your sound to our inner healing? Is that a complicated question, or does
I
that
know.
resonate?
I totally get it. And I've got multiple answers. So the first thing I'll say is I'll give you the textbook answer, which
Okay.
is that they have found, and I'm no good at recounting stats and numbers, so I don't know the numbers, but basically we're made up of a lot of water in our
Yeah.
bodies. And if you get a bowl of water and put, I don't know, a loudspeaker or a symbol or something near it, you would see the water would get disturbed, right? You'd see
Yeah.
ripples. So we know that sound affects water. And since we're made up of a lot of water, whatever that percentage is,
I think it's a 90%.
it's a lot.
It's
It's a
high,
lot.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we're
I'll find
basically
that out.
we're walking cucumbers is what we are. So they have found that, and I don't know if it's been scientifically proven, but they've done a lot of research now that have found that there are certain frequencies that will bring about a sense of wellness and a sense of healing. I know with the lady I used to work with who did gongs, the gongs would it's there's two sides of the brain and it brings them together. It basically forces you in a very gentle way into a meditative state. I can't say it.
Meditative. Meditative.
So you hear
Meditative?
about theta, beta, all the different states that you
Yeah.
can be in. Sound can put you into that state. So if you're someone who is like a champion overthinker, if you find meditation hard and because your brain is just like constantly, sound does something to your brain waves that puts you into a state where you're more receptive to things. So
Okay.
that's how it works. I don't want to say scientifically because I'm not a scientist, but that's the research behind it. From my point of view, though, and speaking from my own experience and from the fact that I am half woo woo, half in need of that, I do love the science. I love
Yeah.
the facts. I would say, and speaking from what I do personally, that it's not even about healing. Like healing for me implies that you're going to get to a point where you are rid of whatever it is that's holding you down. I think it's imperative to understand that in some cases you won't be. You may have to walk with it the rest of your life
Mhm.
because what you've been through is significant, and it's not a case of, oh, you can just do this thing and then you're going to be better, and there is no better either.
Mhm.
I mean, we're going to go deep now, but I think you can. I'm all about helping people just be at peace with what is.
Mhm.
It's because that's so much calmer than I have to overcome this. And I when I was diagnosed with anxiety, and by the way, my anxiety was diagnosed from it was hormone imbalance. So I didn't go through something to cause the anxiety. Some people have anxiety because they've been through, something traumatic, a
Mhm.
loss or, a relationship breakdown or some kind of abuse, that kind of thing. Mine was literally hormone imbalance. And then right off the back of that, grief, because one of my closest friends, unfortunately, well, was diagnosed with cancer and then 6 years died. So It was kind of a culmination of the lot. And in the beginning, I was just like, oh, I don't want anxiety. It sucks. I hate it. It's stealing my life from me. I don't know who I am with it. I can't be who I thought I was supposed to be while this thing is on me. It felt like something I had to be rid of.
Mhm.
That is a deep sense of unrest. And what I've come to recognize for myself is I don't need to be rid of anything. I just need to be able to access these deep states of inner peace. And so to come back to the question, I think what the sound Reiki does, I honestly, truly, and this, I have no proof of this, it's just having done it for as long as I've done it and having had the feedback, I feel like the sound Reiki reminds people of what's true,
Mhm.
and they see and sense themselves in amongst whatever crap they're having to go through. Because I think when you're dealing with anxiety, with trauma, with depression, with grief, with stress, overwhelm, all these things, it gives you a different identity and you lose who you are. And there's nothing more devastating than that. And I feel like that is what happened to me. And there was no darker time for me than when I didn't know myself. And had all these things in my head telling me crap that wasn't true, that felt horrid to believe. Things like, you're just mentally ill and you'll never be better. Everyone around you knows you're mentally ill and they're just playing the game. And by the way, this was after I'd launched my podcast. This was after I'd launched the Confidence Academy. This was after I'd gone through all of that and thought I can help people. Then I'm in this state. I was in my bed, bawling my eyes out. I know now it was grief that was re triggering the anxiety. But at that time, I gave myself no grace. And this voice in my head was going, what is the matter with you? Why can't you get up? Like, you think you can help people? You've started this podcast, you've got the Confidence Academy, and you can't even get out of bed. You're an absolute joke. Who do you think you are? And that, for me, was the darkest point. And it was like the last bit of light in me went out momentarily. And I felt the heaviness of that. And I've never experienced grief like it. And I was already going through grief. But that disconnection from the truth of who you are is the worst thing. So
Mhm.
it's gone deep. I did say it would.
No, no, I respect and I absolutely appreciate you being open and honest, because there are going to be so many people that listen to this that can literally, oh, I feel a bit emotional, that can relate to it. Last year, when you did that personal sound Reiki for me, it was exactly that. I was lost. I didn't know myself. Just I had no connection to any emotion. Now, I am quite a bubbly person. I like to think I am. But when I'm in that negative bubble, the world is gone.
Mm,
And I can function and I can get through every day. And it's very much like repetitive and I don't know what it's robotic. That's more the word,
mm,
robotic. But when I had that sound Reiki with you, I can remember being sat in your on your chair and literally like my face going back because I thought you'd shone a torch in my eyes and you were nowhere near me. I was like, okay, right. So there is definitely something there. And I do understand the fact that, do you know what? Healing, well, as they say, healing isn't linear, but I think you're right. You have to get to the point where you accept that actually that is a thing. So it's almost like having your shadow there, isn't it? It's like that is a thing and it is with me. It doesn't define me. It also doesn't have to empower, no, not empower me. It doesn't have to take my power, but it's just there. And you just, I think finding that peace, I do think you're absolutely right. I think it's finding that a way to kind of accept that that's happened or accept that you have that. I think in fact it was Mel Robbins, just dropping a name drop there. She said she has anxiety, but she doesn't say I am anxious. She says something along the lines of she basically disassociates the anxiety from her feelings.
yes.
I'll have to find out what that is. I'll pop it in all the show notes if I can figure out how to do that. But yeah, no,
I learned I learned a
well,
long time ago not to say my anxiety. I'm very careful not to say my anxiety. I don't own it. I'll say the anxiety. So,
Mhm.
because the other thing, like, I mean, by the way, and I tried the power through, pretend it's not there tactic, because it was inconvenient. I'm the same personality type as you. We're loud, we're bubbly, we're going to be the first ones on any dance floor. We're going to be the loudest ones in the room. Like, we thrive off of that buzzy energy. I think it's hard for people like us when we struggle because we don't want to be that version. We like the bubbly version of us. We don't want to be the snotty, sniveling, can't put one foot in front of the other version. And I don't know if you resonate with this, but I've always been someone that feels strong and stoic, and I'm there for the people around me. And when I wasn't able to be there for myself, I felt redundant. Like,
Mhm.
what I'm like a dog, you may as well put me down. Like, there's 0 point to me if I can't be strong, right? And that, I mean, you mentioned shadow, and I think shadow can mean different things. And I know obviously there's context to this conversation that we won't go into here, that obviously I know about your situation on some deep levels. And I think shadow can mean different things. I've personally been working with the shadow of elements of myself that I have disliked. I realized over time that I had grown to massively dislike the part of me that I perceived to be weak. I massively disliked the version of me that got bullied at school. I
Mhm.
massively disliked the version of me that was a doormat, that got walked over, that kept herself small. And I seemed kind of separated myself from myself. So in that context, like, the shadow work you do is, it's confronting. I haven't nailed it. I'm constantly in it, but it's about like, where can you find love for that part? Now, if shadow to you means something different to that, as in something that happened, I think it's a different thing.
Yeah.
And I think it can be, and this is, I mean, I struggle a lot with being in the industry I'm in. I'm in a spiritual healing industry that loves to gaslight people, that loves to, like, love and light all over things. And the amount of times I've been told, oh, that's just your limiting belief. Like, oh, that's just, you're just thinking
Yeah.
badly about that. Well, you might be right, but we're all human and we're going to think the way that we think. So I think we need to give ourselves grace. And you said earlier about, you appreciated the fact I'm open and honest. I think it has to be this way.
Yeah.
I'm not in the business of telling people you're going to come to my sound bath and I'll cure. Like, healing isn't curing. Like, I can't. But the thing was, when I got into this, and I'll be really honest now, I think on some level, I genuinely thought I was Jesus or something. I was like, I'm going to heal the people. You know, I
Praise Lily.
just wanted so desperately to believe that I could take people's pain away. And I remember working with one of my friends who goes through a lot, and they came for several sessions, and they actually live with a condition as well. And, after several sessions, I remember thinking, but they've still got this condition. I'm not making any difference. What's the point of this? And I said this to them, and they were like, "But do you know how well I sleep after Sound Reiki?" And they had insomnia before that. And they were like, "You can't take away my condition. You can't take away if I could wave a magic wand, of course, they would wish they didn't have to live with that. Like, you would wish you didn't have to live with your greatest challenge. We all would. That's not what we signed up for. I
Yeah.
honestly believe we are beautiful balls of energy that signed up for this thing called life. And we signed up to carry the light and the dark. We did.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Absolutely.
and that doesn't mean that we deserve the crap that happens to us. I don't think we created the crap that happened to us. That's another bullshit thing you hear. Sorry, can I swear on this? You might have to
Yes, you
edit me
can.
out. But that's another bullshit thing that people say, "Oh, you manifested that in your energy." No, sometimes really shit things happen to really good people, and
Yeah.
it just is what it is. But I think that I love that analogy. I love the idea that we came here to have this experience, because that's the part of you that can't be penetrated. If
Yeah.
that's true, if this meat suit that we're in is the thing that has things happen to us, like it's the meat suit that carries the trauma, that carries the anxiety, that carries the disconnection and the wondering if we're good enough and all that. Your soul is pure and it's made of pure love and it's impenetrable. And so,
Very good
yes,
word.
is that a right word?
Yeah.
But that's the point. And so it was a realization for me. And I think in my journey, and it's only been a number of years, I've not been doing this like 30, 40, 50 years. It's only been a handful of years. And already I've experienced multiple ego deaths, I would say, where anytime I think that I'm anything special, something reminds me that I'm not, but that's not a negative thing because of course we're all special. I'm just not more special. And anytime my ego tries to start going down the road of you can heal people, it's like get back down on your ass. Here, have
Mm.
some human stuff happen to you. Remember that? Yeah. That because that's you as well. But I just recognized in that moment, I don't have to fully cure somebody to make their life easier, and that I'm okay with that, you know? And it's okay for me that that Sound Reiki can't cure this stuff. It's enough for me that even if you get 90 minutes of peace in my sound bath, I've given you 90 minutes of peace that you didn't have if you hadn't come, right? And like, it's
Absolutely. Yeah.
so powerful to have that.
I also think when you keep saying about special, I think each one of us is unique.
Yeah.
And even like you said, you have anxiety. I know so many people that have anxiety. I know so many people that have been through PTSD and complex PTSD. However, each one of us goes through it differently. Each one of
Mhm.
us finds peace in a different way. So if somebody was to say to you, obviously think of all the different mental health aspects. So there's, gosh, that's an umbrella and almost a waterfall of different things. But with your sound baths, if somebody felt like they needed, I don't, the only way I can describe it is they need quiet time with their brain. Like they need, it's kind of like it just takes you to, it is a place of peace, but peace for people can sometimes, oh God, oogie boogie woogie. But
Mm.
actually, it's just a place of quiet. If you don't believe in any kind of woo woo, you don't believe in vibrations, you don't even believe in Reiki. If you are somebody that is quite, what's the word, posing to this kind of work, even going and experiencing the sound bath, you literally find quiet time. Your everything is and I can just literally completely, one, I can relate to it because I've experienced it, and two, I just think more people need to step out of their comfort zone, especially in the lives that we lead at the moment, because um, we work, we've got mental health issues, we've got run a household, we might have children, we might like go to the gym, we need to go running, we need to sort the car out. Like life is crazy busy. So I think people need to experience things that are going to put them on a quiet time. Like having a timeout for a toddler on a step. Take some time out.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think people do get nervous about. I've literally had people say this to me, like, I don't want to meditate, I don't want to journal, I don't want to go in there, I don't want to delve into what's in my brain because I'm scared to see what I'll find.
Mhm.
And I think again with sound Reiki, well, I've only ever experienced people having to face what was ready to be faced, if that makes sense. And I say this, it's like a caveat I say at the start of all the sessions. It's going to bring stuff up because that's what it's designed to do. You're in full control of how long you stay in the room. If you need to leave the room, you absolutely can. It's not like, some of these spiritual things you go to, there's a lot of protocol around when you are and aren't allowed to leave. I don't have that in mine. And also, I love that you touched on this because Sound Reiki has woo woo elements for sure. And I've done Sound Reiki in some very hippie scenario. Like I've sung at Stonehenge in a circle to the stones. Like, I can go full witch if I need to. But I'm almost more excited for the people that don't believe in it because like my husband came along and my husband thinks I'm a complete hippie. He thinks it's all a load of crap. He really doesn't get it. Um, and he came along because he's lovely and he wanted to be supportive. And he saw things and experienced things that he couldn't explain. And he was quite angry about it, actually. He was just like, "What have you done to me?" And now he asks for sound Reiki when he can't sleep. And it
Nice.
hasn't, like, it's not a religion. It hasn't made him suddenly believe in anything. I'm not here preaching anything to anyone. I genuinely just want you to be okay, even if it's only for an hour or 40 minutes or whatever. And I obviously appreciate all the feedback, and I love it when people tell me that they can see dragons and unicorns and all, like, I don't see any of that stuff, by the way. So I think I'm like, "Great, I love that you saw that," but it's the people, like one lady brought her husband and he'd clearly been dragged along. He wasn't even dressed to do it. He'd clearly just come straight from work and had obviously been coerced. And he sat up at the end in floods of tears and just was like, "What did you do? Like, what have you done to me?" And but in the most beautiful way, he seemed so serene because it will just invite you to let go of the things you're carrying that you don't need to carry.
Yeah.
And like going back to what we said before, if you've been through trauma, there is a part of you that will need to find acceptance for the fact that that is part of your story and that is what you're walking with. You could spend your whole life in defiance going, "This is not me and I don't want this anymore." That's going to exhaust you. It's going to steal your peace. I think you can have defiance. You can decide it doesn't define you and you can allow it. I kind of think of it like driving in a car. It's not in the driving seat. It's not even in the front seat. It doesn't get to touch the radio. It's just in the back. It's like that's where anxiety sits for me. It's on board because for whatever reason, that's part of my story. And now grief is on board as well because I've lost several people, but one of my best friends, obviously 5 years ago, that's the one that stings. And now that's on board. That like no, and that's a great analogy actually, or it's a great way to see it because when it comes to loss, there is no way around. You're never going to come to a point where you haven't got that loss anymore. And I think trauma's the same, regardless of what the trauma is. So finding acceptance and just going, all right, well, it's along for the ride, but I still have choice and I still have the ability to find peace. I still have the ability to cultivate that for myself. It gets to be part of my story. It doesn't have to define what's coming. Like that's still a blank page, and it's
Yeah.
what I'm so passionate about. I think we're blessed to be alive. I think the world is a beautiful place. I think there's scary and fearful things in it. I choose not to give those things my energy. I also don't ignore them, but I put my peace above and beyond all else. It's literally just a principle I've chosen to live by. Peace first, everything else next.
Absolutely love that. And I think so many people could resonate with that, or they can actually learn from that. Just taking that one sentence, peace above all else, is might need to bookmark that, hun. You walk with it through life. I had this most surreal vision of me holding the hand of my 6-year-old self. Have you ever watched Hocus Pocus?
Yeah.
Or who hasn't watched Hocus Pocus? But when Zachary Binks walks with his little sister through the light, literally that was me and my 6-year-old self. I just got goosebumps. I'm so freaky. But I do think you're right. I think peace is just, and I think that's probably where we all want to be. Like,
Mm.
regardless of whether we can heal from that thing, or heal from, go up and down with medication, or go up and down with like therapies and stuff for our mental health issues or for our trauma healing. Peace is ultimately where we want to be. Like, it really is. So, okay, what I would like to ask from you, if possible, do you have anything that we can do on this podcast for listeners? Maybe a breathing session, or maybe a little bit of voice. I don't know how that would come across, just so they can experience like a snippet.
Okay. This is fully intuitive. I'm just going to dig in.
Fine.
Do you know, I think, well, we'll stick with the theme of coming back to peace. And by the way, I feel like, again, it's a recognition of what that actually means. So to be someone that chooses peace doesn't mean that I'm always peaceful. Ask my kids, like ask my neighbors when I'm trying to get my kids in the car. Like, peace is not always present, but peace is always possible. And I think that's the point, right? It's like a benchmark, and it's like a core thing that's bubbling under the surface all the time. It's something you can always come back to. So
Like a
I think
value, isn't it?
totally. And I think when you see it like that, then you're not fighting. If you're going through life thinking, right, I want to be a peaceful person, then every time you experience not being at peace, you're going to be at odds with yourself, and you're going
Mhm.
to go, I failed, or it didn't work, or it's not possible for me. It's possible for others, but it's not possible for me. So instead, if you just say, peace is my default setting, I'm always coming back to it, then when something comes along to jar your peace, it could be a trigger, it could be a memory coming up, it could be something new happening to you. You can train yourself to recognize when you are no longer at peace, and then find your way back to it. And then what you recognize is it's a process back. So, with that in mind, something that I love to do is breath work. I think, in fact, I'm about to embark on a bit of an experiment with a friend of mine who is trained in breath work, because I think breath work and singing goes together like strawberries
Hand
and
in hand.
cream.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very interested to see what we can do together. But so this is just for me now, from my own understanding and from my own practice. So I would just invite anyone listening, if you put your hand on your heart, whoops, you can hear me, I pulled my headphones out. If you put your hand on your heart, you can put your other hand on your belly, and then you're just going to close your eyes. And the first thing I'm just going to get you to do is just notice what you notice. So you might notice your heart beating under your hand. You might focus on my voice. Obviously, I'm still talking, so there's that going on. I've got something out in my street, there's a car or something. And as you're noticing these things, you're just going to start gently taking deep breaths in through the nose and out of the mouth. And as you breathe in through the nose, notice how your belly rises. And then as the air leaves, notice how the belly sinks back down. And if you ever want to regulate yourself, if you're ever feeling panicked or triggered or stressed out, just doing this, breathing in through the nose and then out of the mouth, and making that out breath longer than the in breath, it literally sends a message straight to your brain to say, you're okay. In this moment right now, you're okay. You may not have been okay. You might have memories of times where you absolutely weren't okay. But in this moment right now, if you can take a breath in and another breath out, then you're okay. And it's bringing yourself right into that moment. And then to bring sound into that, going back to what we said earlier about the power of vibration, the power of your voice above all else. So on the out breath, then you can just do a gentle hum, and then just let the breath come back in. It's like a little hug for the soul. It's a little massage from the inside out. And I think, people have a lot of thoughts and feelings about their voice and what they can do and can't do. I have people tell me all the time, oh, I can't sing, or I sound like a bag of strangled cats, or whatever they may say. Everybody, if you can speak, you can do what I just showed you. You can make that hum. If your first instinct is to judge what's coming out of your body, out of your mouth, that's where you start. Practice non-judgment. Practice, do you know what? I get to make this sound. This sound is good for me. It's like an inbuilt way to regulate yourself. It's so amazing how we're built. We have everything we need to face everything we're asked to face. We just have to know that's true, and then be curious and go on a journey to seek what that thing is for us. For me, it's my voice. It's always been my voice. I've always loved to sing to feel better. That's why my business is called Sing to Heal, but it should be called Sing to Feel Better. Because again, you know, I think if you think of healing as curing, healing as, oh, I don't have to carry this thing anymore, then what you're saying is until that happens, you can't be okay.
Mhm.
So what I'm saying is, what if you could be okay right now? What if you could decide that you get to be okay right now, even with all of this baggage on, you know?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what's coming. You don't know what's coming. You know, this sounds not very inspiring. I like to be inspiring, and this sounds maybe the opposite of that. But, you know what you're carrying now, and you think that's bad. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming. Like, for my own preservation in this world, I have to believe that I'm going to be okay no matter what. I have to have that knowledge. I have to have that belief built
Yeah.
in so that the next time something railroads me and and depending on what it is, it can properly railroad you. You could end up in a ditch on your back with your feet in the air, metaphorically, or
Yeah.
even for real. Like, you have to know you can still come back to that place where you are okay. Mm.
If we are at this point in our lives where we are thinking, okay, I've got through that before. That means you've been there. You have gotten to a place of peace. You've gotten to a place of overcoming that in that instant. Now, it may come like me, my complex PTSD. I have had some major triggers in my life, and it's almost like a cycle. Something hits me. I find my tools. Go into my little toolbox, and I find ways of getting through that. And I know I can carry on, and then woof, out of nowhere, something else happened. But I do think it's a case of being able to accept the rough with the smooth. So
So
that was really go on. Sorry.
this is freaky. So as you said that about cycles, I was literally thinking, I want to talk about the cyclical nature of us as humans. And this is a spiritual thing. This is maybe a bit of a belief system. So people can take it or leave it. But again, with the anxiety, so, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and then I went through a period of trying to understand it, trying to alleviate it, trying different things. I tried hypnotherapy, NLP, CBT, did yoga, like literally all the things, only to then lose my friend a few years later, find myself back. And I remember going, all that work, like I thought I was through this, right? It was almost
Yeah.
like I was stamping my feet. How the hell am I back here? What the hell is this? What I've recognized and learned, and I actually learned this when I studied sacred geometry, which is a separate thing, but it was a concept that was taught, which is we are cyclical in nature. You are always in a cycle, and you're either cycling up or you're cycling down, but you're cycling somewhere. And I love this as a reframe because, again, it allows you to accept wherever you're at right now is where you're at right now, and you're not in that precarious place of, I got rid of the anxiety. Now all I have to do is keep going and not have it come back. That's not a way to live. That is actually living anxiously, because that's like walking in a room. I don't know if anyone here has ever had kids, but if you've ever had kids that have got to the age of 2, those people start throwing shit at you as you walk in a room. Like,
Yeah.
those people will throw things at you with no warning. So I learned to walk in rooms cowering. And that is the equivalent of that. You're going through life. You can't even enjoy being anxiety free because now you're anxious about being anxious, right?
Just walking on treadshells and treadshells? Treading on eggshells or
Yeah,
treadshells, whichever
I
one you
like
want.
that. Like, it was an efficient way to say it. I love it.
Yeah.
But that's the point. So now I don't live like that now. I just live in the moment. I was driving the other day. My daughter was having a bit of a meltdown. And I recognized in that moment that I felt okay with it. I wasn't losing my shit. I was just like, and I was able to parent her calmly. Now, if that had happened a week before, it would have been a different thing. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I would have
exactly.
lost my
Yeah.
shit completely. So I just appreciated in that moment that I was in a place where this was okay. And I was like, oh my God, I actually feel amazing right now. I feel
Yeah.
really calm. I feel really okay. And I'm sad that she's having a bad time of it, but I know she'll come through. And I literally reminded myself, this won't always be the case. You are going to go back to a place at some point where that feels hard to deal with
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Could be hormones, could be something that happened that day, you could be overtired, whatever.
I was literally about to say lack of sleep.
Exactly, lack of sleep, exactly. It could be anything. So I was like, "Do you know what? I'm just gonna be appreciative in this moment then that that's not where I am now, and I'm enjoying it while I can." But it's this cyclical thing, and what I've realized is, and what I learned when I looked back was, it felt like I was back to square one, but I actually wasn't. When that anxiety came back, it put me on my ass harder than it had the first time around. So it felt not only like I was back at square one, but almost like I'd then been pulled back to the minus. Like,
Yeah,
it was like, oh, you thought it was bad before, have some grief on top of that. Like, see how
yeah.
that feels. And what I realized was, it may have felt the same. I was not the same though. I was not the same. The first time that happened, the thing I talked about earlier where I was in the bed and crying and, I was a different version of myself. The last time the anxiety hit was earlier this year. Can't remember the month, but I literally came out of nowhere. I went out on a school run and I just started crying and I
I
couldn't
think it was
stop.
February-ish.
It was around that
That rings
time, wasn't it?
yeah, I
Yep,
remember, yeah.
I think it was. And I couldn't stop crying. And by the time I got home, and this was on a Tuesday, so I was supposed to be going to choir. And I walked in and my husband was all dressed and ready to go. And he was like, "What's the matter with you? Like, what the hell has happened?" And I just kept saying, "I can't sing today. I don't want to sing." And he was like, "Oh shit." Like, if she
Something
doesn't
is
want to
bad,
sing,
yeah.
something is really wrong. Like, I can sing through most things. Like, even this morning, my kids have wound me up, but I was still singing along to the radio. I can be a livid mum and still sing along to radio too.
Absolutely.
So when I'm crying and telling you I don't want to sing today, like that, there's no coming through that. And it felt awful. Don't get me wrong. I didn't feel like I could bypass it, but there was this very strong knowing that I was okay. There was a really odd sense of peace about it, even though it felt weird and horrid. And I knew what I needed to do. And I sent a message to the choir and I said, "I'm not well today." And then actually after that, I sent another message and said, "I need a break." And I just recognized I needed a break and I didn't judge it. And I didn't feel like I was back at square one. And that's because I had evolved. So the feeling is the same, but we're not the same. You never are. You are the next version of you.
You're
So
a
you are
stronger version, aren't you? You really are.
totally
You go
stronger, more aware, more resilient, more
yeah,
empowered if you allow yourself to accept it. Now, I'd been through multiple cycles before where the default belief was, I'm not okay. And so that's what I experienced. We will find evidence for whatever we believe to be true. Ever since I took on the belief that I'm always okay and that peace is available to me, that is what I seek. And so I want to make it really clear, I wasn't able to bypass the panic attack. I still had it, but I put myself in a space where it was safe to have it. By the time the panic landed, I was back in my bed with a movie on the telly, with a hot chocolate and a bunch of tissues. And I allowed myself to feel everything that needed to be felt because I needed to feel it. Because the alternative is carrying that shit around.
yeah.
And that does not feel good.
Well,
So
I was gonna say feeling the feelings is a whole nother podcast that I will be doing in the future because that is something that is very hard to do when you don't have the strength to do that.
mm,
If anybody has any doubts or if anybody has any questions about Sound Reiki, or I'm going to also say the choir because that is an amazing space, where can they get hold of you?
So I'm on Instagram. Instagram is probably, well, Instagram or Facebook. And Instagram is under Sing to Heal. And Facebook is also under Sing to Heal, or you can look up my name, Lilli Badcock. There's only one Lilli Badcock.
I did when I first wrote this episode down, I was like, "Oh no, it's got to be Babcock. It can't be Badcock. Surely not." And it was. I was like, "Whoops."
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I do appreciate everything that you've said today. I think what has come across is going to resonate with so many people, and so many people are going to want to speak to you. They're going to want to join the choir, and they are also going to want to feel your sound Reiki because I think it's just amazing. If they wanted to know about sound baths, where can they find that out?
So at the moment, it's on Eventbrite. So if you search, I'm guessing if you search Lilli Badcock Sound Reiki on Eventbrite, I'm going to be the only thing that comes up, because there's only one of me. And Sound Reiki is not a widely recognized thing at the moment. It's relatively new, but I hold those every month. And again, if you're on my Instagram, on my Facebook, you'll see the promotion for that anyway. And when my website comes back on, that will be singtohealyou.com. I've taken it offline momentarily because I'm updating it all. I've got retreats coming next year, etc. So, but yeah, in
is
the
it still in
meantime,
Ibiza?
Ibiza, possibly. Cathalonia's on the list. Scotland, Cornwall, and where was the other one? Scotland, Cornwall, Ibiza, Catalonia. Oh, there is one more and I can't remember. Anyway,
It's going to be that one then, isn't it? It's going to end up being the one that you do know.
I mean, nothing has been confirmed yet. These are the places I'm feeling drawn to go. And I've just learned whenever I follow that excitable nudge, amazing things happen. So I'm just following those nudges.
Well, absolutely lovely. I cannot.
France is the other one. In a chateau. I knew it was a good one.
Love that. Okay, well, it's been absolutely a pleasure to have you on, and I cannot thank you enough for being, one, my first guest, two, being my personal Sound Reiki master, and three, for sharing everything that you have with us today. So that was the lovely Lilli Badcock. And I hope that you go and have a look at her Instagram, have a look at her Facebook, and if you can, get onto Eventbrite and go and get one of her sound baths, because they are amazing. You've been listening to Riding the Trauma Train with me, Lydia. I appreciate you all, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me today on Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia, and I feel privileged to share this space with you. No matter where you are on this train right now, whether it's in survival mode, slowly finding your feet in recovery, or maybe it's somewhere in between, remember, you are not alone in what you're feeling, and you do not have to travel this journey by yourself. So if you'd like to continue traveling together, please follow Riding the Trauma Train wherever you're listening, so you can join us at the next stop. Until next time, take care.